Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. I am trying to get as excited as I physically can in these intros, and it's getting really, really, really fucking hard. But nonetheless, I am Ron Luce, joined by the great Mr. Nick Hudson with me tonight here on this late night episode on Thursday night. Before we talk anything baseball, because it's just going to sour the mood of the show from here, Nick, how are you doing, buddy?
Personally, man, I'm doing well, but this Cubs team is not. And it's crushing my soul, quite frankly. And I'm sure it's crushing a lot of people's souls out there. And it's just getting harder and harder to watch. I had high expectations, as many of you know, coming into this season. And it's just as the time ticks on, and as the games go by and the left-hand column doesn't move up, it's horrible. It's a bad feeling.
Yeah, a bad feeling indeed, man. And this game just compounds on top of that, right? Because, like, they can't do anything. The offense isn't showing up. You're getting, especially with Steele hurt right now, maybe two good pitching performances a week at this point. The bullpen is atrocious outside of Adbert Alzolay, and they just can't do anything. This team looks lifeless. This team looks like they need a swift kick in the ass. Friend of ours here at On Tap Sportsnet, Mr. Jake Bunowski of the Dingers podcast, the same thing earlier on Twitter. Said this team just looks dead. This team looks like they have no life. You know, he used I believe it was the Reds as an example with all the hype around that team and the LED LaCruz train and these big timely hits, and it's like the Cubs are getting nothing close to that. Nothing close to that. And Nick, just to further that up tonight, 5 hits, 2 walks, 7 total base runners. The entire fucking game. What is happening? What is honestly happening right now?
Yeah, man, I agree with you. This team is lifeless out there, and it is painful to see those storylines with the other teams. It just seems as if this is a contagious problem. Something we didn't see earlier in the year, where this looks like a team that is not having fun on the field at all. Win or lose, not having fun. The cohesion's not there anymore. I'm not sure what happened. I had a fear that when they dropped that last one against the Padres, where they had that opportunity, that could tip the momentum in the wrong direction. And as we've seen, that's exactly what's occurred. And I just think it's a recipe of just we have bad timing. And I saw a stat today about a lot of foul balls. It's like they're always this close to getting that one hit to just break open the game and put that in the left-hand side. And we know they have a lot of times where it's one-run games, and this team needs to win those one-run games. And a lot of those foul balls could, who knows, be hits. So it feels like it's been a year so far of just bad timing.
Yeah, bad timing is a really good way to put it, Nick. And I'm glad you said that because it really does feel that way, right? Because bad timing in the sense of this team cannot produce runs when they need to. You know, you and I briefly discussed that before we even jumped on the live here, of just like they'll get runs, but then when they need to come through in the clutch, there's just no clutch factor to this team right now. And Seiya Suzuki had 2 hits tonight. That's great. He's playing good baseball. 790 OPS. He's really looked like Seiya, which is great. And Dansby has still played incredibly well this season. I don't think there's anybody that's going to get too upset about Dansby Swanson. But it's the rest of this team that just leaves so much to be desired, right? Yes, Bellinger is missed, but you can't rely on one guy to do everything for your offense. Like, it's just the nature of the beast right now.
Exactly. Bellinger, it cannot be the reason why this is occurring. You can't be relying that heavily on one bat. And I think a lot of this has to do with, it's a momentum type of thing with this offense. They have been so hot and cold in the past. We've never really seen a consistent approach since, like you said, April was kind of a tease. We got a consistent approach. And when you see that, and when they do that, they win games. It's who they were built to be. And people are like coming down on Jed, rightfully so. They're coming down on David Ross, rightfully so. I mean, everyone should be at fault here,
Mhm.
but this is a team that was built to do that, to play that brand of baseball. And if you're not doing that, just like if you're a power team and you're not hitting home runs, you're not going to win those games because you weren't that built that way. So, I mean, like you said, there are some bright spots. He looks good up there. And to me, Amaya has had some really good at bats as well. So there
Agreed.
are bright spots here. It's just on this hellish road trip that it's turned into. It's just we gotta finish this one off strong. We gotta wake up for this next stretch here.
100%. And Jeremiah quoted here in the comments just a little bit earlier said we're playing small ball, but not the good kind. And it really does feel that way because you look up and down this lineup right now. Nico Horner still batting almost 280, but a 711 OPS because he doesn't walk a lot and he isn't slugging right now. Swanson's hovering right around a 770 OPS. Hap still has a really good OPS because of his walk rate, but he's almost too passive at times, and he's not slugging at all right now. Uh, to me, it speaks volumes, and this is not a shot at the player, but when Yan Gomes is hitting in your 5 spot in this lineup, something's wrong. Something's seriously wrong, you know? And like, I don't mind Amaya getting at bats in the DH spot. I think, especially right now with an injured roster, that's not a bad thing. But again, Patrick Wisdom, 0 for 3 tonight with 3 Ks. He's batting below 200 now. The only reason he has a respectable OPS is because all the dude does is slug when he makes contact with the baseball. Mancini, big hit tonight. Great. 665 OPS. Mike Talkman has been like one of the few respectable players on this team who's batting in the 280s and still has at least an above average league OPS. This team is not getting any slug. And if it's not Dansby Swanson hitting one of his homers or Seiya getting a piece of one, this team is just not doing damage right now. And that's the difference from April to now, right? We saw this team in April, and yeah, maybe it wasn't always via the home run ball, just like you said, Nick, but at least they were getting those timely hits, those doubles, those singles. We saw some triples. Like they were hitting the ball around the yard. Now they're just not hitting the ball at all. And funny enough, Jeremiah said the curse of Luis Torrens, ever since he was DFA'd, the Cubs are 12 and 25. I think that's a hysterical stat. And then he quotes about Wisdom saying, how about Wisdom gets sent down to Iowa and they let Morel get reps at third? I've been calling for Morel to get reps at third since he was promoted.
Yeah.
All they've used him as is either an outfielder or a DH.
And Wisdom,
yeah, and Wisdom's just not getting it done right now.
No. He's looking really bad out there, especially with the strikeout, not productive plate appearances at all. And I'd have to believe that Christopher Morel would give you more there. And he would bring that happiness back to the team too. You need some kind of spark. Like you said, slug, he can provide that, but also with slug comes morale. And we need that. We need a little bit of happiness in this Cubs team. Something needs to be injected into them. Let's go.
Yeah, and I mentioned to Nick on yesterday's show with Juice, right? Because if some of these other guys right now that aren't playing every day could be developing more, send them to Iowa. Like Matt Mervis, if send him back to Iowa. He's a 550 OPS player right now. He's still trying to figure out the big leagues. But sitting him on the bench every single freaking day is not gonna do you any good. It's not going to help his development. Remember, this is a guy who started last season at high A ball. He had an unreal ascension through the system. That is very rare to see a guy advance that many levels in one season. So he's still very much new to even triple A baseball. Morel, a little different, right? Got a huge taste of the major leagues last season. But if you're sitting him on the bench every 3 days, what the fuck is that helping? It's not helping anything. Like, why is he, playing over a guy like Wisdom who, and I know people, well, Wisdom's glove's been good. Morel can play good defense, and he's only going to get better at third defensively if he's playing every day. At this point, like, the lineup construction is honestly getting to a point where, yes, I agree. I think there is some to blame with Jed because they bet on some of these guys in the offseason to be bigger than they were, and they have not been that, right? We heard the Eric Hosmer somewhat hype, and that fizzled, and at least they did the right thing with that. But Trey Mancini is not getting the job done. You have some of these other guys. Bellinger right now, besides obviously Swanson, looks like your best free agent signing right now because when he's been healthy, he's been really good. And unfortunately, he hasn't been healthy for this last, not even month entirely yet. Since mid-May,
Yeah.
he's been out.
Yeah.
But, they probably won't see him until maybe London at this pace. Like, we're kind of eyeballing that London series for him to make a return probably because they've already said he's not coming back until he gets a rehab stint. And he just went to Arizona today to start to ramp up and actually start taking live at bats and things like that at their complex in Arizona. So there are so many what ifs around this team, Nick, at least in terms of the offense. And I think that's where a worthy pivot needs to happen because I want to talk about something good that happened in tonight's game, and that was Drew Smyly. When your starting pitcher gives you, yes, he gave up 3 earned. I don't give a fuck because guess what? He did what you asked him to do. He kept you in the ball game. And actually, only 2 of them were earned. Actually, the third one wasn't even fucking earned. 7 hits. Yeah, it's a high hit number. He walked 3, but 6 innings of only 3 runs against a very solid Angels lineup. I will take that 10 times out of 10 out for a guy who, coming into the season, was projected to be your 4th starter. That's great. Same thing went for Kyle Hendricks the other night. Yeah, he gave up 4, but he still went 6. They're giving, like, some of these pitchers for the Cubs starting rotation are giving you the length, and they're giving you at least that run number to keep you in ball games. But when you have an anemic offense on the other flip side of it, it doesn't fucking matter. And tonight's title episode, what a waste. They wasted a quality start from Drew Smyly on the road.
Exactly. And it seems to be a common theme where these starters, they aren't getting run support when they give you quality starts. And it's so infuriating to the fan because you see the opportunity. It's not that big of a number. You can get there. And there were opportunities in which they had runners in scoring position and the timely hitting's just not there. And something you mentioned earlier was early on, they were hitting back doubles and singles, and that was consecutive hits. And that we haven't seen in a long time either. Back to back to back hitting. And that's what you have to do if you're this Cubs team. That's how you have to be successful. But Smyly he battled, man. That's a 2-headed monster right there. Trout to Ohtani. I don't think people understand just how hard it is to navigate not just 1, but 2 back to back like that. And he went out there and he battled. He gave you what he could. It is a high hit number, but guys are going to get hits. And if you can keep them off the board, that's really what counts. So it's so frustrating to see this lifeless offense out there. And I am starting to get more and more pointing the finger towards Jed because I think we should have had more. And at the beginning, I was hopeful and we looked at it and we all said like, oh, this could be a really good piece here and here. And we said, if this happens, and there were a lot of question marks. And do we deserve question marks as Cubs fans in this position? I don't think so in this year. I think they should have put together more power in this lineup. The more I look at it, it's like this is a league of power is what it's turning into. And it's like, it's not there. Like you said, the slugging is just not there. So these pitchers are giving you what you need to win. And it's not happening.
I'm glad that you brought up because again, very, very happy with Smyly tonight. Again, just he's getting the job done. He goes out there, he gives you a good start every time he goes out there. They need to take more advantage of that. But we have talked about ad nauseum on Cubs on Tap here about kind of that tinfoil hat theory that kind of is one of those for our show. And that is Jed and Theo used to talk like, where do you see baseball going? Right. And we always discussed like more running, more this, more that. And then all of a sudden the Cubs start building in that model. And now they've completely gotten away from it. And I think power is still as necessary as they thought it would be. Like, I think power is still very much like you can't win with no power, right? Look at the Rays. The Rays are the best team in baseball. They lead the league in home runs. That's just the nature of the beast. They're getting power from everybody in that lineup, too. The Cubs are getting power from, 3 guys, maybe? You know, Swanson's finally starting to hit in terms of home runs. You know, we've got no power from Happ or Horner, and I don't expect it necessarily from Horner, but I do from Happ. This is a guy that had 42 doubles last year and 17 bombs. I expect him to at least give you 20 and 30, especially for $20.3 million a year. He's not doing that right now. And then on top of that, right? Like Trey Mancini's supposed to come in and give you power. Where? There's no power there. Yan Gomes has been one of your best power hitters this season. Like, what is going on? And again, not a shot at Yan Gomes. Just to your point, they brought in some power. They didn't bring in enough power. And I fear that they were expecting more out of guys like Mervis and Morel to carry this team. And that's a problem. You can't have youth be the cornerstone right now, because this is not the 2015 Cubs where you had a plethora of prospects that were in the top, 50 and 60 of baseball that could carry you, right? Like the Rizzos and the Bryants and the Baezes and the Russells and all those guys of the world. They don't have that right now, right? PCA is still at least a year away. And I don't think you should rush him, but he's still away. And he's going to give you some power, but he's still not the answer for power. Really, your best power guys in the system were Mervis, who is struggling right now, and Canario, who has been hurt. Like they are really, I think this is the case where, like, yes, you need to invest in prospects, and having good prospects is a good thing. But at the same time, you cannot over invest in just your prospects, because it goes to show shit happens. Ed Howard missed an entire fucking season last year with an injury. Canario missed the entire winter and he's still not back with his injury.
Yeah.
You need proven players, right? And
you do, yeah.
I bitched and moaned with Juice last night about this with Marcus Stroman. Everybody, well, what are they going to get for Stroman at the deadline? Why are you going to trade a proven pitcher for the hope of some of these arms working out?
Yeah.
Let's be completely frank. If I'm going to be, I'm doing my best Sour Juice impression right now. All of these arms could say "fuck you" and all blow up and create Tommy John, and then none of your prospects work out. It could happen. Will it?
Yeah.
Probably not, but it could, and that's the problem. Like, I love that you brought that up. I think Jed overinvested in slap hitting players, not giving the power that it needed, and then not investing in enough guys that have major league experience. Like, if you look up and down this lineup, Swanson, Mancini, Gomes, like those are your true like veterans. And then it's a journeyman and Mike Tauchman. Not a shot at Mike Tauchman. He's been really fucking good, actually. I've been very pleased with him as a player. But it's just, I don't know. It's blasphemy.
Yeah. But it should be better.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It should be better. And really quick, Nick, before, because I absolutely want to hear what you said, a couple of comments too. This might spark a couple more thoughts in your brain. Jeremiah says he's to the point where they say F it and call up Brennan Davis. He doesn't care about the consequences. Stay calm with a good joke here in the comments. Say, we need power. Call it Madrigal. He did hit a home run, by the way, which was comical. Jeremiah says amen in response to that. But Nick, like, just where does this team go from here?
I mean, as we talk, it feels pretty dark. We're not that deep into the season, and this is a pretty bad division, but it feels pretty dark when we talk about the prospects that we have backing this lineup. It feels dark, and I think that something that needs to be looked at is what you said. Did Jed just try to budget into some slap happy question marks then? And it really does feel that way. It's starting to feel more like it was a bunch of question marks. And this is a day and age where you go spend the money to get the proven player that's shown you they can do it. I loved the Dansby Swanson signing. I thought that was great. But it seems like there were things that he missed the mark on. And as the season goes on, I think we're going to learn more and more about that. But I'm concerned. I'm at concern level because I don't see how we're going to turn this around. I don't think adding Bellinger, like, it's going to help, but some other guys got slugged. Ian Happ really worries me a lot. You got to get the slugging from him. And it's just like for a lineup that doesn't have it, you have to have it where you thought you were going to have it, if that makes sense. But it's like it's getting to be a little scary at this point.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you know what? Like kind of going back to Jeremiah's comment about Davis, like I am kind of ready, I think, for the Cubs to start letting some of these guys get a shot. And I'm not saying everybody, like don't rush PCA and don't do that dumb shit. Like I'm not that's not what I'm asking for. But a guy like Brendan Davis, who, yes, he missed a lot of time last year with the back injury. I understand that. He's been pretty decent at Iowa this year. He hasn't been lighting the world on fire, but he's been good. Just give him a shot. Give him a week or two in Bellinger's absence just to get a taste of the major leagues. You know, they've done it with Amaya. I think Amaya's looked really good. I have a lot of hope for Amaya, what he's going to be in the future.
Yep.
And thank God, because catching was probably the number one position in the system that everybody was super concerned about, just because Amaya had a lot of injuries and people weren't sure where he was at. He's showing again why at one point in time he was the number one prospect in this Cubs system. And you know, Jeremiah's saying here, like, you give Shohei $1 billion. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at this offseason coming up right now going, there's not a lot of bats that you can improve with other than Shohei Ohtani.
And it's a problem because if you're Shohei Ohtani tonight out there and you're watching this Cubs team,
yeah,
even though you have Suzuki, which is wonderful, be a wonderful story, he wants to go to a winning team. You think he wants to go to a team that's going to play 500? We should be playing 500 right now. It should be happening right now. And next year should be the year where we're taking the big leap. I mean, this is a problem because there are ramifications that are going to happen. And I'd love to give Shohei Ohtani $1 billion. And we know we're capable. We have an owner that could. And it's like, but does he even want to come here? It's a good question to ask. It's like, that really should be something they ask themselves is how do we make this team more desirable for free agents that are proven that can turn things around here?
And Nick, that's where I kind of want to ask you a spicy question. And that is, like you said, you look at this team from the Angels dugout tonight, a team that was in the sweepstakes for Shohei Ohtani when he originally came over to the United States from Japan. One of your buddies in a guy like Seiya is here. If you are Jed Hoyer, if you are Carter Hawkins, if you are this front office, and you look at this team like you said, and you say, how do we make this team look more desirable? They should be having fun. Well, why aren't they having fun? Is it a clubhouse issue? And that's where I beg the question from you, Nick. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Are you thinking now that from here through the rest of the season, it is David Ross on the hot seat to either get this team playing better baseball or he's going to be sent to fucking Jupiter on the next best rocket that the Ricketts can afford because he's not getting the job done? And to your point, if this team doesn't look desirable for free agents in the next few years, then you are solely banking on your prospects working out, and that is a dangerous game that scary. You play as a front office.
I mean, I'm going to answer with just a blatant yes. I mean, I think he's the scapegoat in this scenario because he doesn't have a lot of experience. He's not proven. I mean, he is, but he isn't. It's sad because I like Rossi, but I don't see this year where he's putting the passion in it to turn this thing around. And it is upsetting. It feels very corporate to me, the whole thing. And like, this is pretty spicy, but it's felt like this whole Cubs team has gotten very corporate, like just sell tickets, play baseball, move on. And it's crazy because at the beginning of the year, they look like they loved baseball and they want to be out there and do this, but man, they look lifeless. And it looks like something's in their head. Like you said, is it a clubhouse thing? Something happened. It's very strange because even when they were losing, they didn't look like this when they were losing. They looked pretty good. It looked like good losses where we're like, oh, that's heartbreaking because they were close and they fought. But these are different. These have felt terrible. And the stats are showing it. I mean, these guys are starting to really look bad up there.
You nailed it on the head. And that was something that Juice also discussed on last night's show as well. Was just like, if you're going to lose, like lose different. This team has been losing the same way for what feels like the last like 3.5 to 4 weeks now of just get a lead, blow a lead, keep it moving. Like that's what it's been. And like you said, at least early in the season, some of these losses felt more competitive. They felt like they were more invested in the game. They felt like they actually had a chance. Now they just roll over and play dead like the fish in your aquarium that just wants you to flush them down the toilet so they can get the fuck out. Like that's what this team looks like, unfortunately, right now. And it's a shame. It really is a shame because, yesterday's episode, we titled it, What's Going On? My Baseball Team Lied to Me. We were told at Cubs convention that this team was gearing up to be a playoff contender. This team does not look like a playoff contender right now. They look the farthest fucking thing from it. They look more so like a contender for a top 5 draft pick in the MLB draft in 2024 than they do a playoff contender. And what does this say to a guy like Dansby Swanson, who blatantly has been on record? There's video out there of his dialogue saying, tell it to me straight. Are we going to be fucking good or what? They lied to him. You lied to your cornerstone player that you brought in free agency. How do you think he fucking feels right now? He probably looks around the clubhouse going, what the fuck did I sign up for?
And that's a frightening thought. And I saw him today walking back to the dugout, and I had that exact thought. I was like, is he starting to be like, what did I do? Because we don't want that in his head,
Right.
You got to have camaraderie and happiness in the clubhouse. It's a real thing. You have to have positive vibes. That translates to better play on the field. That's what makes baseball so great. You can't just play it alone. You have to play it as a team, and you have to do it well as a team, especially in this league.
Yeah, you're 100% right. A couple of interesting comments here as well as we've been discussing things here, Nick. Jeremiah came with some stats on Brennan Davis. Not the greatest slash line in the world with 3 homers, but a 316 on base percentages is pretty encouraging, all things considered. And again, maybe just a change of scenery, give him a shot, a new look. Could be a good thing. And Hank here in the comments saying he said it on December 19th when the Cubs signed to Jameson Taillon instead of Kodai Senga that it was a huge mistake. In fairness, Kodai Senga has not looked much better either. So yeah. I don't know if that's necessarily the Cubs dodging a bullet. Senga's been better than Taillon, but in fairness, my big toe is probably better than Taillon right now. It's just it's a clusterfuck of a bunch of different things. And I think despite our optimism coming into the season, there's that little voice in the back of your head that was like, this is a development year. Like, this is a growth year was what this was supposed to be. But it doesn't even feel like that right now. Because, again, you're opting to trot out a Trey Mancini over a Matt Mervis or a Christopher Morel in the lineup. Again, great that Amaya's playing every day, even if it is in a DH spot. But, like, and I get matchups and all that bullshit, and that's fine. But, like, you had a lefty on the mound tonight. No offense to Talkman, but why isn't Christopher Morel in the lineup against a lefty as a right-handed bat? And Detmers, again, I swear to God, I said it on last night's show, and I just need to stop being right because it pisses me off that every pitcher who's having a bad season looks like a fucking all-star when they play the Cubs. It's happened all year. Patrick Corbin did it. Fucking now, Detmers did it. A couple other guys have done it. It is just a recurring thing. And it's frustrating, man. It really is. I'm just flabbergasted at this point, Nick. Like, I'm so flabbergasted because you watch this team, you get a quality start out of your starting pitcher. They were never in this game. Let's just call it what it was. They never looked like they were in this game. And sure, you're on the road. It's a long road trip, whatever. But, like, is returning to Wrigley going to be that big of a fucking deal right now? Probably not. And if it is, like, then you need, if you're Jed and Carter and Ross, you need to bottle up whatever the energy is in Wrigley Field, stick it in a big motherfucking jar, and then like release it in the away locker room when you get there to just revitalize these guys. Because they look like they don't want to be here. And when you have a ball club that doesn't want to show up guess what else is probably at some point this season not going to start showing up? The fans. And maybe, just maybe, Ricketts will get it out of his fucking pea brain head thinking this team's a playoff team, because they're not. They're not. Don't
They're
pitch
not.
that to us. Don't lie to us. You can piss on my face and tell me it's raining. That's fine. But don't. This is bullshit, right? Like, it's just, I don't know. It's so hard, Nick. Like, I know this is your first show of the week, so you have some more like isolated thoughts and, overarching thoughts, because, I feel like I've talked about the same fucking game 3 times this week.
I'm sure.
It is mentally infuriating because,
Yeah.
again, like Juice said last night on our show, just lose differently. And guess what they didn't do? Lose
They did not
differently.
lose.
They lost the same fucking
Same
way
way.
they have all fucking week. And I'm at a loss for words. Nick, I don't have much else. Do you have any final thoughts on this game tonight before we look ahead to maybe greener pastures, or maybe just we're closer to putting the bullet in the middle of the cow's skull and calling it a day?
Let's just hope that we continue to get good pitching performances and the offense can just turn it the fuck on.
I don't know what has more likely of a chance to be turned on right now. My light switch that I can't reach across the room, or this offense. That's where I'm at mentally. I do have a parting gift for everybody. Also, shout out to everybody at midnight here in the Chicagoland area joining us in the live stream. Appreciate the absolute hell out of y'all. We hope you guys are enjoying our torment and our yelling and screaming. More so mine, because again, I've just been mentally tortured this week by the Cubs. I want to share some records with you, Nick, from around the league.
Oh, okay.
Just to give people a clearer picture of where this Cubs team is right now. The Cubs are 26-36 after tonight, right? That's good for 7. Mind you, like you said, terrible division. They're only 7.5 games out of first place the way they're playing right now. That alone is a fucking miracle. But I keep moving. The Cincinnati Reds are 29-34, 2.5 games better than the Chicago Cubs. They look fun right now. Ellie De La Cruz might carry me to a fantasy championship this year, because I swiped him about 5 days before he got promoted. The dog shit Washington Nationals are only, I'm doing math here, only a half game worse than the Cubs. They are 25-36 on the season. The Colorado Rockies are 26-38. So the Cubs are just a single game better than them, technically, in the standings. Who else? The Minnesota Twins. Well, they were supposed to be good. Let's not talk about them. The Chicago White Sox are 28-36. Remember that team that looked lost that we made fun of in April? Role reversal now. They're the ones laughing at us.
Oh.
The Javier Baez-led Detroit Tigers are 26-34, a game better than the Chicago Cubs. All I will say is thank God for the Kansas City Royals, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the fucking Oakland Athletics. Otherwise, the Cubs might be the worst team in baseball.
Yeah.
And it's kind of pathetic when you really think about it, because this was a team that you went out and you got a starting pitcher for $17 million a year in Jameson Taillon. And sure, we saw something similar with Yu Darvish. Really bad first year with the Cubs, and then he turned it around. So
it could
maybe.
I
Bellinger
have hope.
looks great. As does Swanson. Awesome. Great big signings. But then again, Trey Mancini was supposed to be a flashy signing. And I'm not hating on Trey Mancini. I like the guy. I root for him. I really do. Yeah. But Trey Mancini to me is also a player that does better on a deeper roster, where he can hit 7, probably that 7 hole is probably the perfect spot for him. You let him DH, just focus on being a bat. You play first base every once in a while to give a guy a break and make an impact there. Not hitting 5 routinely in the order like he has in the last 3.5 weeks. It just, everybody's out of the fucking their places. Nobody's getting the job done. This team can't hit a home. I can't remember the last Cubs home run I physically watched on TV. They hit home runs when I'm not watching. I can't tell you the last time I saw a Cubs home run. Actually, I can tell you the last time I saw a Cubs home run. I got to look at a schedule, so bear with me here to all of those watching and listening along, because I got to remember how long ago this was, because it feels like eons ago. Here we go. May 28th,
Oh, jeez.
when they lost to the Cincinnati Reds the Sunday before Memorial Day. I was in attendance with my lovely girlfriend and some of our friends. And Patrick Wisdom almost killed us with a home run, and we were all the way at the top of the bleachers. It was cool. It was awesome. He hit 2 that day. That's the last time I've watched a game where the Cubs had a fucking home run. It's just it's straight out of Letterkenny. Straight out of Letterkenny, Nick. It's fucking embarrassing. It really is.
It really is.
It's absolutely brutal. Jeremiah quickly with a quote here.
So,
Lou Brown, okay, we won a game yesterday. If we win today, it's called 2 in a row. And if we win again tomorrow, it's called a winning streak. It has happened before. And Jeremiah says we need to hire Lou Brown right now. Maybe. Yeah. And just quickly back to one of Hank's comments. I don't want to neglect that. He said, I bet having both Senga and Suzuki would have helped recruit Ohtani. Sure. I think having Suzuki certainly will too. You saw their exchange they had tonight before the game. Probably literally the most outside of Drew Smiley and Adbert Alzolay's performances tonight, that was the most positive thing that happened in this game.
literally.
Before the game. Was Seiya Suzuki greeting his boy Ohtani what's up, man? Save me. I'm struggling here. Come save me. You look really good in blue, and they'll pay you a lot of money. And Chicago's a dope-ass city. It is. Chicago's awesome. Love Chicago. But holy fuck, this Cubs team absolutely infuriates me. Nick, we got to move ahead, buddy. I can't talk about this series anymore. I can't do anything anymore. Juice says Cubs calling Ohtani. I fucking hope so. Juice is narrating it in the comments for us real quick. Says, hey Ohtani, what's up? Seriously, they need to do something here, man. But we will go ahead and move on. They get swept by the Angels. Literally something they couldn't do. Juice follows it up saying Ohtani hangs up. Yeah, after tonight, maybe.
Yeah.
Literally, maybe. But this will be our last show, Nick. Just reminding everybody until Sunday. We will be off Friday and Saturday. So we will look at the Giants series as a whole here in our preview. We will first talk about tomorrow's game specifically. It is a 9:15 start for those in the Chicagoland area. So that's Central Time Zone. Eastern Time Zone, it's a 10:15 start from Oracle Park in San Francisco, California. The third place in the NL West Giants at 32-30 will host the dog shit Chicago Cubs. It is Anthony DeSclafani on the bump for the Giants. He's 4-5 on the year with a 3.97 ERA. And it, honest to God, is the only reason I watch Cubs baseball nowadays on the bump for the Cubbies. It is the Marcus Stroman, the Stro Show, 6-4 with a 2.39 ERA on the season. And then over the course of the weekend, both starters for the Giants Saturday, Sunday are listed as TBD. So be on the lookout for who those pitching matchups are. If one of them is Logan Webb, just pencil in a loss. Kyle Hendricks will take the bump for the Cubs on Saturday, and on Sunday it will be Hayden Wesneski for the Cubbies as they then round this out, and they'll get an off day on Monday, which Lord knows our mental health will need that off day as well on Monday. And then they're back at home on Tuesday. And I will put this out into the universe now. I have tickets for that Pirates game Tuesday, June 13th, that I am looking to get rid of. 2 bleacher seats. You guys know the drill. DM me on Twitter and just, follow us. I think literally last time I did this on a show, it was with you, Nick, which was funny.
Yeah.
And the lovely listener that was pumped was sending me screenshots. He's like, I follow you guys. I love you guys. I've been following you forever, which made me feel really good. It was awesome. And again, my only thing I always ask, you send me a picture from where you're sitting. It's honestly become a really fun series. I might read them all at the end of the year of just all the DM, because I've gotten awesome. Some really good ones. I really have. The one that meant the most to me, I said it on a show with Juice weeks back when it was, but I lost my grandfather back in March, was very close to him. One of the kind gentlemen that I gave my tickets to, he took his grandpa to the game, and it was his grandpa's first game since the 90s, and they're super close, and so it was really cool. I've just gotten some fun explanations as to why. The last one I gave out, they were like, I'm out here in the right field bleachers. They're like, I know the right field bleachers get slandered, but on a day when the wind's blowing out and a lineup full of lefties, I want a home run ball. Is it selfish? Maybe. But guess what? I'm here. I'm ready. I was like, I respect the shit out of that. Cool. People get creative with it. And I appreciate the creativity. And again, I'm a person, I'd rather you just take the tickets and have fun and enjoy yourself rather than me waste them by them collecting cobwebs on StubHub nowadays with how this team's playing. So, you know the drill. Hit me up. Please don't hit me up tonight, though. I'm going to bed after the show. Hit me up tomorrow before 3 o'clock. Otherwise, you ain't hearing from me until like 8 o'clock tomorrow night because I am hitting the links tomorrow afternoon because, again, mental health needs it after this week of Cubs baseball. Nick, back to Cubs baseball. We'll reel it back in here for a hot second. Thoughts going into this Giants series?
Yeah.
Can the Cubs turn it around? And again, if we avoid, I hate saying we. That's like a big pet peeve of mine. It's not a shot at anybody, but like I'm not a part of the Chicago Cubs. It's not we, it's the Cubs. Anyway, the Cubs, if they avoid Logan Webb, sweet. Because like he's like considered top 5 for the Cy Young right now.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I think the Cubs have a chance. So I want to hear your thoughts. What's your mindset going in? What do the players need to do this weekend to turn something around? Because I swear, if they get swept again and they win 2 games out of 10 on this road trip, I might vomit on camera the next time we do a Cubs on Tap.
Well, we definitely don't want that. So let's start with getting some Stroman, some run support. Let's get him a fucking W. Please, he deserves it. I mean, get the man a W. Come on. And that all it falls on the offense. Give him some fucking run support once and for all. Then you got Hendricks. That's going to be a big one. I'm looking for him to take a good turn. He's looked good at certain times. Like I feel like he could really settle in. That changeup, I think he needs to rely a little less on it now. He was really heavy on it the last start. I think 42 or 43%, somewhere around there. That's too much. But I do like that pitch, and I hope to see him spot that fastball here and there as well to set up that changeup. And then Wesneski, that's another really important start. So the pitching overall, I think Saturday and Sunday, Saturday and Sunday, those are going to be 2 very important days for the Cubs to see what we got. Because with the offense being so bad, you got to at least hope that the pitching is solid. So moving on to the offensive side, which I really don't want to, you got to get better plate appearances first and foremost. Like you cannot be going up there with no plan. If you're going to take a pitch in the right spot. And really, I want to see better plans up there. And just, I mean, overall, it just looked like they were completely lost. Like we said, have a better plan out there. And also like the better small ball. Earlier, someone said like, worthless small ball, which I agree lately it has been, but the stolen bases are nice. And if we could just get some hit and run or something going, something different. And for the lineup construction, maybe shake it up a little bit. Like you said, I feel like something different has to happen for this series because the Giants have a better record than us. I mean, they're not a great team, but we're not a good team either. So what the hell is going to happen? Let's end this road trip. Let's just turn this all around and get the momentum back so that when we do go home, we have something at least on our side.
I like it. Great analysis, man. I'll add a couple things. Like you said with the plan, battle in your plate appearances. Like show life. Don't just go down swinging on 3 pitches. Like I feel like we've seen that a lot in especially these last 3 games, but really over the last 3.5 weeks. Battle. Give good plate appearances. Even if you do get an out, force the pitcher to throw 7, 8, 9 pitches in the at-bat. Make him work. Get them out early. Get to that bullpen. Because then maybe if you beat the bullpen up on day 1, even if you take an L, you might set yourself up nicely to beat them up more on Saturday and Sunday if they can do that. But this team needs to show some fucking sense of life. Hits into the triples alley, cool and tough. Beautiful thing about Oracle Park. That big old right center field. Throw a couple of shots out there. Let guys run. I am so. What happened? This team last season with next to no talent in terms of speed ran like the 4th most in the MLB, and now they're just not running anymore. Yeah. Run. You have Nico Horner. When he gets on base, let him steal second. Dansby Swanson stole 20 bags last year. Let him steal. Hap can run a little bit. Let him steal. Like Miguel Amaya probably has a decent set of wheels. Fuck it. Let him steal. If you get Morel in the game, let him steal. Talkman can probably run. Let him steal. And guess what? If they get thrown out, I would rather you be aggressive when this team is just not getting anything done than continuing to be passive and just just roll over and die every single game. I'm right there with you, man. Bats need a battle. They need a run. Put the pressure on. Force these pitchers to make their pitches and the defense to make big plays. And maybe, just maybe, you force them into enough errors, or, you have enough good time, jumps and things like that for stolen bags, that maybe things do work out in their favor and they can turn the series around. Pitching side, I agree with you. Strosho, I'm ready for a battle tomorrow with him. Can't wait. That's always worth the price of admission. And I was very pleased with Hendricks' last start. I know he got beat up for 4 runs. He really just had the one bad inning. And I think a lot of that could have been mentally when you had Gary Sanchez struck out and the umpire gave him a free couple of pitches that Blake Snell was getting strike calls on. I think that fucks with the pitcher's psyche a little bit. And then it kind of fell off the rails a little bit. And then he composed himself. And then he took care of 6 innings of baseball regardless. I think as long as he's dialed in and he's Kyle and not rattled, I think he'll be okay. And Hayden, I know Juice and Tyler talked about it on the show on Tuesday. New look approach. He's hiding the ball more. He's trying to keep, from tipping any pitches and things like that. Adjustments in Iowa. He looked really good his last time out too. Only went 4 2/3, but pitched well enough where he absolutely could have been set up for a win. So I'm optimistic. I'm going to try and be optimistic going into this series. It would be nice to see them get some things done. Quickly as well, I realized we didn't mention start times for the whole series. 6:35 Central Time start on Saturday, 3:05 on Sunday. We'll be coming to you live after that 3:05 start on Sunday here from Cubs on Tap. Maybe not right away, but probably within the hour after the game. Couldn't tell you who's going to be on the show yet, but tune in. Follow the Twitter account, you know the drill, at Cubs on Tap, and you will hear from us. Quick little note here. Jeremiah asks, are you guys excited for the NASCAR race in Chicago in a few weeks? No, because it's absolutely going to fuck up the streets of Chicago. They just need to go back to Chicagoland Speedway, because I would actually go to the race then, but that's neither here nor there. Nick, truly. Oh, let's get some Fly the W picks. We haven't done Fly the. I feel like I haven't talked about a Fly the W pick in ages. Who do you got for this coming series?
I'm going to ride the hot bat. I'm going with Suzuki. I think Suzuki's going to go yard.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm going to ride Miguel Amaya. I feel like he's just he looks like he's a player that has a sense of life right now. And I'll tell you what, if he comes out tomorrow and has a good game, hard hit balls, good plate appearances, maybe he has a double or something like that, I'm all for moving him up in the lineup. Let him hit 5. Let him hit 4. Ian Happ's not getting it done in the 3-hole right now. Move Suzuki up to the 3-hole. Let Amaya hit in 4. And let Happ hit behind him in the 5. Fuck it. Do something to change something up, because clearly trotting out the same starting, top 5 in your lineup every day is the definition of insanity, expecting something different to happen right now. Let's see it happen. So I'm going to go with Miguel Amaya. That is my Fly the W pick. Nick, before we get out of here, buddy, I want to remind everybody Cubs on Tap, one of 2 official Cubs podcasts of the On Tap Sports Network. Follow our friends over at the Dingers Podcast. They're at Dinger Cubs on Twitter and Instagram. The boys do a great job. They will be live on Monday. You will not hear from us on Monday, obviously, with it being the off day. You will hear from them, so be sure to tune in with them live here on our On Tap YouTube page. Again, in order to do that, subscribe, hit the little bell button, and you always know when one of our shows goes live here at our YouTube page. Be sure to follow us as well at Cubbies on Tap, CUBBIES on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Loose on Tap. He's at Nick_on Tap, at Juice on Tap, at Joey Knows Nothing, at Teddy Freddy 270. You know the drill. At Bulls Guy Rob as well. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks. We got it all. Bears had a great show this past week with Mr. Jonathan Wood from the Bears blog. Be sure to listen to that. That is live as a podcast as well, or you can rewatch it. Pardon me. Here on our YouTube page. That tweet, if you are a tweet-dependent podcast listener of ours, that will be going out tomorrow. Blackhawks will be live either Sunday or Monday, so be sure to tune in with the Four Feathers boys for that one. Things to talk about, actually. A lot of optimism. Thank God, because somebody needs to give me optimism in the city. And the Bulls, I don't know what's going on with them. I'm sorry. I feel for Buzz every single day. And again, Cubs fans, we got friends that like the Southsiders. You got friends that like the Southsiders. They should all be friends. Send your friends to our friends over at Sox on Tap. OnTapSportsNet.com, at OnTapSportsNet on social media, the OnTap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Nick, it is always a pleasure, buddy. Love doing these with you. This brings back old memories doing the late West Coast shows
Right.
from back in 2019. But nonetheless, my friend, unfortunately, the Cubs are swept, but on to a new series in San Francisco over the weekend. And as we mentioned earlier, you'll hear from us again. I say collective us. I don't know who will be on the show on Sunday following the conclusion of that series. As always, buddy, Nick, always a pleasure, dude. What do you say? We get out of here the only way we know how? At Cubs on tap?
Yeah. Fuck those shitbird Cardinals.
No, give it to me and let's go Cubbies.